The basics of strength training are as follows: progressive overload, focusing on big compound movements, and of course, progressing slowly. We'll get to that last one here at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned. It sounds a little backwards, but bear with me. It makes a lot of sense when we actually explain the fundamentals of getting stronger and how this actually makes sense. The basics of progressive overload is that to get stronger, to build more muscle, or to improve performance, we have to adapt to a muscular tension that we haven't previously. So if you're doing the same amount of work and you're not actually increasing the weight on the bar, you're not doing more reps with the same weight, you're not building muscle, you're not getting stronger. That's it. You have to do that. You have to get stronger from workout to workout. You have to go from week to week, month to month, and even year to year. A very basic program you can follow is starting with the weight you can handle for about 5 reps. As soon as you're able to do 5 reps with good form, keep pushing until you're getting to around the 8 rep range. And what's going to happen is that as long as your form is on point and as long as you're actually increasing the amount of work you're doing over time, you're going to get stronger. The main thing with this though is that you want to make sure you're not going to failure, because going to failure with heavy barbell movements is a very bad idea. You need to stay within 1 to 2 reps away from failure at all times. You need to make sure your form is on point, and at any time that your form actually breaks down, the set is terminated. As soon as you're going from 5 to 8 reps, what you're going to do is add 5 pounds to whatever movement you're doing. Say it's the squat. You go from 200 for 5 to 200 for 8 over the course of a couple weeks. Add 5 pounds, and then you start at 205, and you keep pushing until you get to that 8 rep range. And as long as you're doing that, add more weight the following week. You don't add weight until you get to that top range, and that's going to give you the most strength, and it's going to build the most muscle in that short period of time. Obviously, you're going to plateau eventually and back the weight off, but for short term, this is a very good program to go through. I'll go over what a long-term approach will look like when we get to the third section of this video, so stay tuned for that. Next up, we have using big compound movements. I went over this in my last video on how to build more muscle, but big compound movements, things like barbell squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups, dips, rows, etc. Anything that's using multiple muscle groups at the same time is what you want to be focusing the majority of your strength training on. If you're doing a bunch of isolation exercises, that's very good for building muscle at certain movement patterns. If you're doing a bunch of bicep curls, that's great for the biceps. But to get stronger, you need to get stronger at those bigger movements. Those are the ones that can add the most weight. They have the most disruption in the body, and they give you the most bang for your buck compared to the amount of work you put in. If you want to get stronger, you need to do those big movements, you need to get stronger at them, but of course you have to do it safely. If I had to boil it down to about 8 movements that you should be doing, I kind of went over them before, but squats, bench press, deadlift, overhead press, dips, rows, any kind of pull-ups or pull-downs, and that's basically it. If you do close variations of those, like wide grip pull-downs or close grip pull-downs, or you're doing close grip bench, incline bench instead of regular bench, sumo deadlift instead of regular deadlift, anything like that where you're kind of changing up the variation slightly and you get strong at those, I guarantee you will be stronger. And the final tip for today is progressing slowly. And I know the title of the video is to get as strong as possible, as quick as possible, but let me explain. Instead of doing sets in the 5 to 8 rep range, what I recommend for the majority of people out there is picking a weight you can do for about 10 reps on lower body exercises. So any kind of deadlift, squat, etc. Do it for 10 reps, and then what you're gonna do is add 5 pounds. And then every single week, you're gonna go for a new PR. And this means you're going until you're about to get about 1 rep away from failure, and then stopping. It doesn't mean going until you're grinding out reps of the deadlift, your back is, being compromised, or on the squat, you're just falling forward every single rep, your knees are buckling in. You wanna make sure your form is solid and everything is strong. By doing this, what's gonna happen is you're gonna build more muscle, and you're gonna progress a lot slower than you normally would, but because you're doing this slow and systematically over time, you're actually going to get stronger without having to plateau as quickly. I've done this with clients, the ones that started at about 20 reps on things like bench press and overhead press, they built more strength for a lot longer period of time than others. And the ones that actually started at 20 and got down to like 5 reps, it took them over 6 months to plateau, essentially. You can do this with any movement. Say you're doing the bench press. Start with something you can do for 20 reps, and once you do that, add 5 pounds that following week, and just push until you're 1 rep away from failure. That's all you have to do. You just keep going. And once you get down to 5 reps and you feel like you have to actually drop the weight back, drop it back 10 to 20%. And then from here, guess what? You're gonna start moving back up, but the weights you did before, you're gonna be able to do for higher reps now. There's other ways to get stronger than in that 5 to 8 rep range. So if you're trying to get as strong as quickly as possible, I really do recommend that instead of going in that 5 to 8 rep range like what most people recommend, you're actually pushing it up slowly over time in those higher rep ranges. It's like a race. Those that pace themselves, they get to the end of the track faster. Those that are trying to sprint out the gate and trying to run as fast as possible, they have to take more breaks. They're consuming more energy for no reason. And at the end of it, they don't actually win the race. Start light, progress as slowly as you possibly can, and don't add more than 5 pounds per session. If you think you can just add 10 pounds to the deadlift forever, you can't. I've tried this before, it doesn't work. You get very, very strong really quickly, and then you gotta back up. It doesn't work. So go from 10 reps on the lower body, 20 reps on the upper body, and slowly let it progress in a way that you're adding weight over time, and then you're bringing it down slowly on the reps automatically. And then when you finally decide, hey, I am pushing way too hard, I'm grinding reps out, back the weight off 10 to 20% and then build back up. That's all you gotta do. But that's it for me. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you'd like to learn more, definitely consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. Also, I have a link to my article going over this video in my description box, so definitely check that out. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Until next time, Dante Redgrave.